about a quick review of things you may not know that AutoCAD Civil 3D Survey does? We got a project. We're in the real world here. We've imported the project. We have a drawing open in Civil 3D, and let's just hop out and take a look at that. What that project looks like. This is a very typical survey project. Already made a series of standardized drawings. Got a container for my survey database. I've imported my typical queries that I use to process files all the time. And uphill, I've got folders to hold my output and other stuff I might get regarding this project all built. Here's my project. It was really made from a Civil 3D template. In other words, just a folder structure with the standard drawings and all the stuff that I typically want to have available to me when I start a project. So let's open our survey database. I simply imported a typical FBK file. We can take a look at that real quick in Notepad. It was just converted from an RW5 file to an FBK file using productivity pack stuff. We already had set up our equipment database, our figure prefix database, and our line work code set to make that magic all happen. And from up here, I ran process line work from here. That's the last time I'll probably run process line work from that place. Typically, after I make edits, I want to run process line work from down here, which will reflect whatever changes I made to points and data and figures in the project. A couple of things I want to check right away are, did I get all the codes right? That's simply a question of importing the points, which I'm going to do. Over in my settings, I simply set my description key set to run one of the typical check type description key sets. Let's just put all the points into the drawing real quick and dirty. And that generates a bunch of points. I really don't care what they look like. I'm certainly not going to label them at this point and waste my time. What I really care about over here is in my list of point numbers. There's all the points that I got. Zing, they all came in. But the real issue is I use in my check, in my description format column, if it's blank, those did not match. So I only got 4 or 5 points here. Got to go back and adjust the descriptions to match. Those are the first things I want to get straightened out. You'll notice the descriptions will still come across, but those ones did not match anything in my typical description key set, which probably may not mean this DW1 may not match a figure, so it may cause me a problem, and I want to get those sorted out. I really don't need the points in my drawing. Now, this works pretty well. We're just taking a quick check to make sure things look good. I already built my network since I imported this as a network. And I want to pump that into the drawing real quick, give you some context. For now, I'm going to turn off the map. Don't really need to see the map anymore, and we can focus on locating other problems that might happen, typical busts and things like that, before I ever put anything real in my drawing. I certainly don't want to throw in all my points. I don't want to deal with all the figures which make objects. I want to see if I've got problems right away. Survey is pretty good about this. We have a nifty tool called the Survey Preview window. It's really a copy of the object viewer. I've got settings in here that allow me to do some things. So one of the things I like to do is change my vertical exaggeration and go down and turn in setup preview, show me the points, show me the figures, and for figure previews do the same thing. That will allow me to take a look at things elevationally while I look at them at plan. I've got setups, and we can take a look at the setups, and I can single click on here. Civil 3D will generate for me all the figures, a preview, and all the points in that setup, which is pretty cool. In other words, any figure, the whole figure, if it was related to that setup in any way, shows in the preview. And I can spin and see things in elevation and zoom and pan and look for stuff that's going on. Well, down here I got something wonky I got to look at. We'll see if we can find it later. And now we can just real quickly, Civil 3D is real quick at this. We can just hop down and find that setup. There's that setup. I can use the view cube to get around and make things make some sense. And one of the nifty cool things about this is it'll show you the point, and in this case, let's edit that setup by clicking on it. If I double click, I zoom to it in Civil 3D. In plan, I see it in vertical, and I also find out something really cool about Civil 3D Survey. Yes, we support name points. If you quote a point name in your FBK, you can get name points. This is actually, if we looked at this carefully, and I turned on I've turned off a number of columns here just to keep things simple. I don't need to see all the other stuff. The ones I do care about, where I usually find problems, are the target height, the description, northing and easting, and elevation. I've thinned things down to make my job a little bit simpler. But I got a name point. This is an elevation check for a setup. Works fine for me. We can hop to other locations, turn off observation editor. We can pan around and look for other problems. Once again, we can, at any time we want, switch to 3D. In this setup, we got a couple of little issues, so maybe we want to spin up this way. We can spin around, get ourselves a better view. We're at 1526, so let's go and look at that point, see what's going on there. Another couple of things, they look, since it's got other figures that are fairly close to it, that actually looks like a reasonable piece of topology going on. Notice, because I don't have all the points on, I'm not seeing that elevation shot or that tree, but I am seeing just the figure points in my preview, which really helps cut down the amount of information overload that you get. Oh, okay, all that stuff looks reasonable. We got some sort of a bump that's actually fairly real, so we're happy with that one. We'll go back to an elevation view and continue our search for other busts and problems. This survey is very clean. Folks have been at it for a long time. Nothing really serious in terms of that. So the preview box in Civil 3D gives us a great way to look for problems even before we made a surface, done any of that other stuff. You can use the preview box. You can also use it if you just got a point file with no setups. In other words, it's just a PNAZ file. You can still generate the figures out of a raw PNAZ file and an import, so you don't have to play connect the dot, which is sort of painful. Let's turn on that preview pane again. We can see an entire figure. This one happens to be my crown. A couple other things that are built in. Maybe this is a parcel or that sort of thing, but we'll do it with a crown since this is just a linear survey. And we can edit the figure itself. I don't have to have the figure in the drawing. I can rearrange and edit the figure. This sort of a figure, this crown, I may also want to make an alignment, a best fit alignment from the point data or the figure data as well. The other thing that we can do is edit the figure in the pane. Not everybody knows that you can actually display an inverse. Turn that box off. You can also right click, display a map check. All this data in all the list planes in Civil 3D is nicely portable. So I could select everything, right click, copy to the clipboard, hop over to Excel, and paste special all my values so I can work on that stuff in Excel and get that Excel data back into my drawing with not much effort. So I'd like to show that one off. So other thing that I typically do, we're not going to cover here, is I almost always make a completely raw surface disconnected from the survey database of what came in the beginning so I can compare that to my final edited result in Civil 3D.